Hi everyone, welcome to our live session this morning. And this morning we're going to be doing something a little bit on the tangy side. We're going to be making a key lime pie, and it's a beautiful citrus pie. I'm going to show you a very basic pie. And what's nice about this is it's a foundation and you can kind of make it your own, adding some different flavors and textures. So let's talk about the pie a little bit. We're going to be making a graham cracker crust, and then the crust gets baked, and then we're going to be making the filling and then putting it in the crust, and this gets baked again too, cooled and then finished off. So knowing that, let's go ahead and get started. So let's talk about the graham cracker crust first. So you can make graham crackers, you can buy them, and you can even buy a graham cracker meal too if you wanted to save some time, especially if you're making a lot. So you're going to sweeten this with a little bit of sugar. I like to use a little bit of brown sugar, and then you're going to be adding some butter to kind of bring it together a little bit. So I recommend using butter rather than another fat like margarine or shortening, but you can use margarine, but butter always has the best flavor. So once we sweeten this, you can add some spices like cinnamon, or even a pumpkin pie spice is nice with a little bit of nutmeg, just kind of making it your own a little bit. And you can also add some zest to this, and you can add a little bit of cardamom. That's a nice flavor, goes nicely with the lemon. So it's really limitless what you can do with this crust. So you can kind of have a little bit of fun with it. And like I said, I like to use brown sugar. It adds a little bit extra flavor, but you can use granulated sugar too. And you're going to just be adding enough of the fat to kind of bring it together a little bit. So any questions on the crust so far? Keep in mind, if you like nuts, I will oftentimes add a little bit of almond flour to mine. You can also do some chopped nuts such as pecans. Those are nice too. So what's nice too, when you're adding nuts to this base graham cracker mixture, you're adding some flavor, and when it starts to bake, it's going to toast and the nuts are really going to taste delicious. So I've added a little bit of my melted butter, and I'm just going to put enough in here until it kind of sticks together. I'm going to put a little bit more. You don't want to put too much because you can make it just a little bit too fatty, and what'll happen is it might slide down your pan when you go ahead and bake it. So this is looking like it's just enough, and it's kind of holding its shape a little bit. And like I said, you don't want this too fatty, too wet from the butter, because it can slide down the pan, especially if you're using a nonstick pan like I'm using today. Okay, so any questions on the base, on the crust for the key lime pie with the graham cracker? Making it your own with different flavors, great idea. Okay, so I'm using a pie pan today, and I like to use these shallower pans, but you can use a thicker one. You can even do a cake pan and just put the mixture in the bottom. But today I'm going to be putting the mixture in the bottom, and I'm going to be bringing it up the sides. And you're going to want to pat it in here, because keep in mind you're making a crust, and the crust needs to hold its shape. So when you get into these corners, you don't want it to be too thick there. So just be sure that you're kind of forging out your corners a little bit, if that makes any sense. So you kind of want to pack it in here. Okay, and let me know if you have any questions so far. Smells delicious from the butter. I had a little bit of cinnamon in here. Okay. Don't want to make it too thick, but some people like a little bit of a thicker crust. So keep in mind too, if you don't want to use fat, if you kind of want to get away from fat and butter a little bit, you could use things like some ground up fig paste, and that would help hold this together pretty well. But I do recommend using the butter if you can. Okay, you want to be careful not to get it too thick. Like I said, you want to kind of forge out those little corners. And kind of press it in here along the way. All right, there we go. It's looking pretty good. A little bit of thickness, so I'm just kind of pressing this out, pressing in those corners a little bit. And what you could do is kind of clean it off a little bit. Okay, always clean mine because these kind of little straggler pieces are gonna get too dark when you bake this in the oven. So you're gonna toast this in the oven for maybe 8 to 10 minutes on an oven that's 350. Keep in mind before you toast it, you can sprinkle this with a little bit of cinnamon sugar, or a little bit of spice sugar, or just granulated sugar. It's just gonna give it a little more flavor. Okay, so let's go ahead and set that aside. And nextly, we are gonna talk about the filling. Let's clean up our board a little bit. Okay, any questions on the base, the graham cracker crust for the key lime pie? Oops, I got some more on here. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and talk about the filling. Super simple to make. This is the one that I'm going to show you today. We have a little bit of sweetened condensed milk. We've got some lime juice, and we have some egg yolks in our mixer. So we're going to whip the egg yolks until they're light in color. And some formulas for this, you're going to see that the egg yolks are just mixed and they're not whipped. I like to whip a little bit of air into mine to make a little bit of a lighter pie, but it's really up to you. You're just going to leave these mixed a little bit. And let's go ahead and talk about the lime juice. So I have some that I squeezed earlier, and I used some key limes, which are a little bit smaller. Oops. Oh, limes on the pie. All right. Okay, so these are a little bit smaller, and they have a little bit of a thinner rind, and they're a little bit more tart and a little bit stronger in aroma than a typical lime. And these do have seeds in them, and they're smaller. Bartenders will use these a lot. And the name comes from the U.S. Florida Keys. So this is a beautiful little lime, and if you can't find the key lime, sometimes you can buy the key lime juice, and you could really use any juice, but I recommend using the key lime. Okay, so now that we have our egg yolks whipping a little bit, let these aerate a little bit more. They're going to get lighter in color, and they're just going to become a little bit more fluffier, and it's going to give some lightness to the pie, but you definitely don't have to do this unless you want to. Then we're going to be adding our sweetened condensed milk and our lime juice, and it's ready to go. You can add some lime zest as well, but you can also use different zest and different juices too. You could use half orange juice and half lime juice and a little bit of orange zest. Super nice citrus pie. So you can explore different flavors with the filling as well. Okay, egg yolks are looking good. I'm going to give them a little bit more. And please let me know if you have any questions, okay? Okay, we're going to fluff them up just a little bit more, and then we'll be adding the other ingredients. So as I talked about adding orange juice, you can do lemon juice as well. You can do different extracts if you like. Coconut's very nice with this as well. Okay, so these are looking good. This is about as light as I make them. You can whip them a little bit more or even a little bit less, however you like them. You can also not only add orange juice, you can do liqueurs. You could do a little bit of tequila. And you can also add some herbs too. You can add a little bit of cilantro or mint for a key lime cilantro pie or a key lime mint pie. And what you can do is just add these fresh herbs to your lime juice and then blend it. and then you can mix that in just like that. Keep in mind, if you're using these herbs, don't use the stems, just use the leafy part because you're going to get a lot more flavor. Okay, so those are some thoughts on some variations. Let's go ahead and finish the filling. Okay, so in goes the sweetened condensed milk. Like I said, this is super easy to do, but you can easily make this your own. You can have a lot of fun with it. Any questions so far? Okay. In goes the sweetened condensed milk. I'm going to mix it up a little bit, and then I'm going to add the lime juice. You can do this by hand too. All right, so in goes the lime juice. So any thoughts on key lime pie, anything that you might do? I'm going to keep this handy. All right, so let's talk about the color of the pie next once this is kind of mixed in. Typically, key limes are green when they're just picked from the tree, and then as they ripen, they turn yellow. So key lime pie is typically this kind of blonde color, but I like to add a little bit of green to mine, just a little bit to take off the edge on the yellowness. You can leave it the way it is. Keep in mind, if you blend cilantro or if you blend the lemon into the juice, that's going to give you a little bit of the green color too. So I just like to use maybe 1 drop of green, and it just gives a little bit of green hue. Okay, so it's got just enough green in it. You can add another half a drop, but I wouldn't add any more than that. And like I said, you can leave it that kind of pale blonde color too. So this is done. It's ready to go. It's going to go in the shell. So let's go ahead and get it prepared for baking. All right. So I've got a shell that I made earlier that I toasted, and as you can see, there is a pretty big difference. So it's well set, it's a little crispy, but it's going to maintain its crispness through the baking, and it has some nice flavor to it because it's toasted a little bit, and this is where the toasting of the nuts is going to come in if you decide to put a little bit of nut in your crust, whether it's chopped nuts or a little bit of almond meal like I like to use. So pie crust is prepared and ready to go. So we're just going to add the filling all the way to the top, and then this is going to be baked. So let's scrape this down, make sure we don't have any egg yolks floating around or streaking around in the bottom. A little bit of streaking. You can just go ahead and mix that in. And like I said, you can easily do this whole process without a mixer and just with some basic kitchen tools. And if you buy or make your own graham crackers, you don't need a processor. You can roll them with a rolling pin to make a graham cracker crumb. Okay, and you can probably use other cookie crumbs too. You could explore chocolate is a nice combination with key lime. So there's definitely a lot of variations that you can make on this very basic, simple pie. Okay. So I'm filling it all the way to the top. I have a nice amount of filling, and this is going to be baked at 350 degrees, and you're going to bake this for about 15 minutes until it's well set. You can tell if it's set by jiggling, and you can also feel it. It's going to have a little bit of firmness. You don't ever want to bake this so much where the outside is starting to turn brown, because then you may have some curdling over baking and some separation. So 15 minutes is more than enough for a pie this size, depending on your oven. Keep an eye on it. It could take 13 minutes. It could take 18, just around that 15-minute average until it's set. Then you're going to cool it and decorate it and serve it. Okay, any questions on the key lime pie? All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at one that I made earlier. And, well, I accidentally rolled some key limes onto it when I was taking a look at them. So this is okay because we're going to be finishing this off with some whipped cream. So as you can see, it's got a beautiful color to it. It's not really green and it's not really yellow. So this is how I like to do mine, and you can do yours however you want to. And we have a question. The question is this egg yolk only? Yes, I did only use egg yolks in this. And there's some key lime formulas out there for vegan versions too if you're not using eggs. So I would recommend exploring different versions of the key lime pie, and you can really change it up a little bit and kind of make it your own. It's a beautiful citrus pie. Okay, so this is well set. I've got some browning, and like I said, it's not really too green and it's not too yellow, and this is how I like to do it, and you can do yours however you like. Let's go ahead and talk about a little bit of topping for the key lime pie, and let me know if you have any questions. So I have some whipped cream, and I like, for my key lime pie, I like to do half sour cream and half whipped cream. I put a little bit of vanilla in this whipped cream when I whipped it, and it just gives it a nice tanginess that really complements the key lime pie, and it kind of has that layering of flavor a little bit. And the sour cream helps to set up the whipped cream too. It kind of helps stabilize it a little bit. Adds a rich flavor. It's going to add a little bit of smoothness. So about half and half, or even 1/3 of the sour cream and 1/3 of the whipped cream, sweetened with a little bit of vanilla. So you have a nice topping for your key lime pie. So you can spread it on, you can pipe it on. I'm going to pipe it on with a plain tip, and you can also put meringues on these. Those are beautiful, and you can flavor your meringues with things such as lavender, or you can kind of reinforce the lime flavor with a little bit of lime meringue. So have fun with your key lime pies. If you have any questions, please type them in, or you can notify us and we can answer them when you take a look at the video. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and do a little piping. So it's very limitless what you can do. I'm just using a plain tip. You can use a star tip, or you can spread it on a little bit. As you can see, I'm covering my little dents from my limes rolling in. So I'm just going to be garnishing this with some herbs, some mint, and I have some edible flowers, and sometimes you'll see this garnished with a little bit of sliced lime. But keep in mind, you want everything to be edible. Even though the limes are edible and they look beautiful, you're not going to eat those lime rinds, the outside of the lime. So consider that. But either way, it's beautiful. If you have some nuts in here, some almond flour, or even the chopped pecans, you can put some of those on top. And another really nice variation too is you can put some chopped pecans in your graham cracker crust, and then after you bake it, before you fill it, you can sprinkle some pecans on top, and you can also put a little bit of caramel, or kind of like a little bit of caramel praline key lime pie. So have fun with your key lime pies. They're easy to make. This variation that I'm showing you is super simple, so you can do a lot of different variations on this. So I'm just going to decorate this with some fresh lime, some fresh mint, and like I said, you can use the limes too. But let's go ahead and put a little bit of mint on our key lime pie. So it's super beautiful. And hey, did you know that key lime pie has its own day? It's September the 26th. It's Key Lime Pie Day. So think of that when September rolls around. I mean, it's got to be special. It's got its own day, right? All right. Does anyone have any questions? They're getting ready to say our goodbyes. I bought some of these little edible flowers at the store. Got some marigolds, super beautiful, some pansies. And this is a nice combination. So these are great for putting on the pie. You can put some tangerine or some orange segments too, and that's going to add some beautiful color as well. But as you can see, these really bring the pie to life. Okay. So if you guys don't have any questions, we're going to be saying our goodbyes. Let me put a couple more flowers on our pie, okay? And I'm so happy that you guys were able to join us today. And please be in touch if you have any questions or if you need any help on variations with your pies. Super beautiful with a little bit of fresh flour and a little bit of fresh mint. And that's our key lime pie. And we have a question before we go.
What did you do to cook the egg yolks?
The question is, what did I do to cook the egg yolks? They went in the oven when the pie baked. So after I did the mix and I filled the shell, you're going to bake the pie until it's well set, and that's going to cook your yolks. Okay? And you can buy pasteurized carton yolks and use those too if you're concerned about pasteurization. But please let me know if you have any more questions. And we're going to say our goodbyes, so you can type them in or contact us after you see the video. Thanks so much for coming today and joining me for key lime pie, and I'll see you next time, okay? Goodbye.